Yo, yo, yo. Back. That like button. I don't know how much time I got.
I used to.
2800. Man, what it is? What's up, Major? What it do? Yo, what happened with they ain't ruled on YW Melly bail yet? Back court Thursday, get a new bond. Transfer the rappers, real names Jamel Demons highlighted that 26-year-old has been in jail for 7 years and hasn't been convicted. Thursday hearing included testimony from the rapper's family members and the Broward Sheriff Office detention officer regarding the rapper's living conditions while in custody. So I guess they ain't heard. I guess they ain't said nothing yet. I'd be surprised if they give him bail. They need to give him bail though. What it is, my man, ball out in the building. They need to get that boy a bail, man. So have y'all been keeping up with the new evidence? They releasing evidence about that David situation. Yeah, they got a strong case on him, man. Remember earlier I was saying that something might not be right because of how they arrested him. But they got a strong case on y'all. So some paperwork got released yesterday. So hold on, there's a lot going on for real. Me? It's a lot going on, man. Hold on. So they got a video of the Tesla. What they showing? So look, they got a video of the Tesla. Now that the prosecution has released a briefing for the preliminary, it says the light skinned dude with the driver is light skinned with long hair and wearing a red jersey. What's up, JB? You got paperwork that got released. So they got text messages shared between him and this girl, this kid. Hey, we're gonna try to do this real quick. It's 9 pages. Man, they got a case on that boy. Let's see if I can. Can y'all see this? It say to the Honorable Judge Charlene, whatever, above entitled and defendant in this counsel, the people submit the following brief to provide a round map of evidence of people intend to be introduced at the preliminary hearing scheduled on May 1st. Background facts. The dismembered body of a 14-year-old Celeste Rivas was discovered in the front trunk of the defendant's Tesla Model X on September 8th, 2025. The vehicle had been towed 3 days prior from 1405 Bluebird Avenue, which was parked approximately 400 feet from defendant's home at 1368 Donny Place in the Hollywood Hills. Surveillance video. Y'all know my hands ashy, y'all know I be working this shit. So, surveillance video and other evidence confirms defendant was the last person to drive the vehicle on July 29th, 2025, before left in Los Angeles on a concert tour. I gotta find out where to do this. Do it this way. Can y'all see this? On September 8, 2025, the manager of the tow yard where the Tesla had been impounded noted the strong smell of decay and the presence of flies coming from the vehicle. He notified Los Angeles Police Department Hollywood auto detectives who determined... Hold on, man. The Tesla was registered to defend it through department resources. At the tow yard, LAPD detectives opened the Tesla front storage compartment and observed a black cadaver bag covered in insects. Inside the bag, they discovered a severely decomposed head and torso. A plastic garage bag beneath the black cadaver bag contained the dismemberment of arms and legs. However, the victim's ring and pinky fingers on her left hand had been amputated and were not found in the Tesla. On September 16, 2025, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner Department positively identified the body from dental records as belonging to the victim. Pursuant to their investigation, LAPD robbery homicide detectives determined the victim and defendant met in January 2022 when she was 11 years old. What the fuck? Wow. They began a sexual relationship in November 2023 when the victim was just 13 years old and the defendant was 18. Detectives learned the victim had been reported missing to the Riverside County Sheriff's Department by her family, who live in Lake Ellesmere. In February and April 2024, the Riverside Police Department telephonically connected defendant on February 17, 2024, after they identified a phone number in the victim's phone records that belonged to him. During the call, defendant claimed he had spoken to the victim last on Friday 13th or 14th, 2024, but stated he was unaware she was a minor or that she had been reported missing. The Riverside Police Department advised him that Los Angeles Sheriff Department deputies would be coming to his home. On that day, defendant was living at 804 North Donny Place in West Hollywood. They requested, the Riverside, requested that LAPD conduct a welfare check at defendant's home. LAPD detectives, deputies, LA Sheriff, LASD, deputies went to defendant's home the night of at 8:15 p.m. and informed him the victim was 13-year-old runaway. Defendant again claimed he was unaware. She was a minor and had only met the victim once in person on November 2023. However, defendants showed deputies a yearbook photo of the victim he had on his cell phone. Although he claimed to be unaware of where the victim was at the time, she returned home 2 days later. Despite being informed by law enforcement, so she was running away to his house. Yo, this nigga crazy. Despite being informed by law enforcement she was only 13 years old, defendant continued to pursue her. After the victim returned home in February 2024, her parents looked at her cell phone, took her cell phone and threw it away. Defendant drove to Lake Ellesmere and paid a junior high school student in the victim's class $1,000 to give a cell phone to defendant purchase so they could stay in contact. Yo, what the fuck? Yo, this nigga is crazy. So the parents took the girl's cell phone, and this nigga goes up to a middle school and gave a middle school child $1,000 in a phone to give to the little girl. Fuck, sick bastard. Hold up, y'all. That's a sick motherfucker there. That is crazy. So the family was trying to protect her from this nigga, and your bitch ass was relentless. The fuck? Yo, can y'all see this? So they could stay in contact. Throughout 2024, the victim spent a significant amount of time with defendant, including summer weekends at his home in the Hollywood Hills, and traveling with him to Las Vegas, London, and Texas to meet his family. What? To meet the family? Text exchanges, they need to lock the family up too. Text exchanges between the victim and defendant contains reference to sex, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of a Plan B emergency contraceptive. There are also explicit photographs documenting and corroborating their sexual relationship. In November 2024, the defendant and the victim broke up, although they continued to communicate, and text messages suggest they also continue to have sexual relations. April 23, 2025 is likely the date the victim's death. Is likely the date of the victim's death. And when all her cellular activity ceased. The night prior, April 22nd, 2025, defendant and the victim engaged in a lengthy argument, describing in detail in their text messages. The messages revealed the victim's jealousy over the defendant's relationship with other women, as the defendant led her to believe they had a future together. She became extremely upset and threatened to disclose damaging information about her relationship with the defendant to end his career and destroy his life. Defendant's first studio album was due to be released on April 25th, 2025. He had an emerging multi-million-dollar career already in progress. He also had multiple product endorsements, which were highly profitable. At approximately 8:40, I'm trying to make this shit clear. At approximately 8:40 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, defendant sent an Uber to transport the victim from her Lake Ellesmere home to his residence. They communicated before and during her Uber ride. Which dropped her off at defendant's Hollywood Hills home around 10 p.m. At approximately 10:30 p.m., defendant sent messages to the victim inquiring where she was. The people can what? Oh, all right. The people contend this was part of defendant's premeditated plan to cover up the murder, as she was already dead by this time. Oh, okay. Knowing he had to silence the victim before she ruined his music career, as she had threatened, very soon after her arrival at his home, defendant stabbed the victim to death multiple times and stood by while she bled out. At no time did he call law enforcement or 911 or take her to an emergency room to attempt a save of her life. To attempt to save her life. Despite knowing she was dead and her family was trying to find her, the evidence will show defendant lied and claimed he didn't know where she was. In fact, defendant drove to Santa Barbara County immediately after the victim died, attempting to dispose of her property and destroy evidence. At approximately 11:30 p.m. on April 23rd, 2025, he drove away from his home as he texted and called the victim's phone, asking where she was. Again, these were acts calculated and planned to set up his defense within a very short timeline after the victim's vicious murder. The defendant drove his Tesla north on 101 freeway to San Marcos Pass Road, near Lake whatever, in Santa Barbara County. He returned home early following the morning on April 24, 2025, before going on a radio interview for his release of his album. Damn, this nigga vicious. That week, he sent 2 additional texts to the victim's phone that day, which obviously went unanswered because she was already dead. After April 26, 2025, the defendant never attempted to contact her again. Yo, this guy's wilding. I'm ready to just read this shit because that shit hurt my damn eyes. Alright, so I can make it bigger like this. Defendant subsequently purchased tools to carry out his plot to dismember and dispose of the victim's body on April 24, 2025. Defendant ordered a shovel from Home Depot that was delivered to his home from Postmates. On May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered 2 chainsaws to his home. Wow, yo, they gonna kill yo in the joint, man. On May 5th, 2025, defendant ordered and Amazon subsequently delivered a body bag, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a blue inflatable pool to his home. He made these purchases under the fake name of Victoria Mendez. On May 8th, 2025, defendant returned to the same area in Santa Barbara County, leaving his home around 11:30 p.m. He returned to an area again on May 31st, 2025. This is an isolated site of SR 154, where the victim's identification was subsequently discovered on January 2026. Additionally, on July 7, 2025, defendant ordered and subsequently Amazon delivered a burning cage to his home under the same fake name as part of his plan to incinerate evidence. Moreover, defendant took horrifying measures to destroy and discard the victim's body. After placing her body into a blue inflatable pool to prevent her blood from spilling onto his garage floor, defendant used a chainsaw and perhaps other tools to cut off her limbs. Small blue plastic fragments were found embedded in the victim's remains, which were collected by a Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Department. The fragments were analyzed by LAPD's Forensic Science Division, Trace Analysis Unit, as experts was able to make a physical fit match from the blue fragments to the blue inflatable pool purchased by the defendant in May 2025. In order to distance himself from the victim, he amputated her left ring and pinky ring because her left ring contained a tattoo of his name. Her fingers have not been recovered. The defendant then placed her head and torso into a cadaver bag he purchased. He placed her limbs into a garage bag, which he deposited into his front trunk, laying the cadaver bag on top. For several weeks or possibly months, the defendant left the victim's body to decompose inside his Tesla. He lied to friends, business associates, and others who noticed the strong smell of decay in and around his home and vehicle. Before leaving on his concert tour at the end of July, He parked the Tesla on the street and around the corner from his home. LAPD served a search warrant at the defendant's home at 1368 Donley Place on September 17, 2025. After the victim was identified by a Los Angeles County medical examiner on September 16, 2025, inside the garage, the detectives discovered evidence consistent with dismemberment of the victim's body in the inflatable pool, which contained. So he killed it in the pool. So he ain't get blood on the floors. He cut up in the pool. He killed it. Then, this shit is crazy. Which contained multiple linear cuts. Several biological samples which tested positive for blood were collected within the garage area. DNA analysis determined that various samples matched the victim's unique genetic profile. On December 9th, 2025, the medical examiner ruled the victim's death a homicide caused by 2 penetrating injuries to the torso. On January 17, 2025, the victim's U.S. postcard was found by a Caltrain worker off SR 154 in Santa Barbara County. The evidence. The people will present the following evidence at a preliminary hearing, including but not limited to the description of photographs depicting the victim's naked, as well as while she was engaged with defendant in sexual activity when she was 13. As this evidence constitutes sexual child abuse, the photographs themselves will not be presented, while all possible charges that could be proven were not filed. The CSAM is proof of the ongoing sexual relationship while the victim was 13 to 14 years old. Numerous text messages between defendant and the victim, evidencing their sexual relation, pregnancy, abortion, and the use of Plan B. Messages through March 25th proved defendant continued to manipulate the victim as she messaged, "All we do is have sex and hang out, man. I want more for that for myself." These messages were obtained from defendant's iCloud data. Defendant's cellular activity and communication derived from defendant's iPhone and Tesla, which demonstrate defendant's activities from April 22nd, 2025 to April 24, 2025, including the trip to Santa Barbara County in the middle of the night after the victim arrived at his Hollywood Hills home. Surveillance video of defendant driving his Tesla on July 29th, 2025 for the last time before parking the vehicle and leaving on tour at the end of July. DNA evidence developed from blood stain collected from defendant's garage, which matches the victim's genetic profile. Proof of defendant's Amazon purchase and deliveries to his residence, including 2 chainsaws, a body bag, an inflatable pool, heavy-duty laundry bags, and a burn cage after April 24, 2025. Proof of defendant's purchase and delivery from Postmates of a shovel from Home Depot to his home on April 24, 2025. Uber records showing defendant transactions where he ordered Uber to pick up the victim from Lake Elsinore home and transport her to his residence in the night of April 23, 2025. Proof defendant's lucrative career as a singer and songwriter prior to April 23, 2025. Defendant had an album release party on the night of April 24th before embarking on an international tour in late July 2025. Text messages engaged between defendant and the victim on April 22nd and April 23rd, 2025, where the victim threatened to expose defendant and destroy his career. God damn. I don't know, yo. That's what I was saying, Kendall. Like, how the fuck did they have all this? Yo, how the fuck? What? Yo, I don't know how they had all this evidence and took that long to arrest yo, man. That shit is fucking crazy, yo. Based off of how long this investigation took, I wouldn't have had no clue they had all of this. Like, you couldn't tell. Damn, this shit did get busy as a bitch. I'm ready to move from right here. Yo, I wouldn't have had no clue they had all this evidence, man. What it is, bro? Like, look like to me, they got a rock solid case against this motherfucking ass for real. Then they got
projects with. I used to do a lot of different projects with different producers, and I used to do a lot of different projects with different producers, and I went through maybe 5 or 6 different versions of this album. But the most recent version, the one that I'm very happy with, the one that we're gonna put out, I made in a total of 4 weeks.
man,
so
bro, I still can't
I
do
went to
shit
London
with
for
that.
2 weeks. With 3 of my friends, and we just made a song every day for 2 weeks in London. I love London because of like the gloomy aesthetic and the gloomy, just like vibe and environment that London has. Like there's barely any sun there, and I love that because the music I make is really sad. And then, so 2 weeks I made a song every day, came out with half the album, and then I went back to Houston for another 2 weeks, and I made the rest of the project on my phone, just off of beats that people sent me and with some things that I made. And yeah, just 2 weeks in a different area, trying to get myself in a different mindset, and then I came back to Houston, put myself in the same mindset again, and made everything by myself. So I wanted to see what I looked like, or how I worked with different people, and how I worked with myself. You know, I used to do a lot of different.
Man, he a sick motherfucker, man.
Different producers, and I went
The
through
family,
like 5 or 6 different.
The family was trying to protect this girl, man. The family, the ones that alerted the police about him. Once the family found the text message, they called the police. But this nigga was relentless. This nigga was relentless. So she was running away at 11 years old, 12 years old, going to his house. Family caught wind of it, told the police, go to the house. He lied, said he don't know where she at. 2 days later, she go back home. When she go back home, they take the little girl's cell phone. This nigga finds out and goes to a middle school. He 18 years old, y'all. He not a kid. He 18 years old. Went to the middle school. Gave a kid $1,000 to give her another phone. Yo, this nigga is sick. All to then, man, this nigga is crazy. Yo, a sick motherfucker, man. He must ain't grew up around black people. Who he grew up around? I guarantee, where the fuck is this little nigga from? That ain't no black people shit. Where is the singer David from? Born in Queens, raised in Houston, Texas. Nah, y'all. What part of Houston, Texas? What part of Houston, Texas is David from?
D4VD, also known as David Anthony Burke, is from Houston, Texas. He gained recognition through TikTok and began making music in his home in the Houston area.
Hello? I don't know. My phone didn't even go off. Yeah, loud as it is, it ain't go off this time. Shit. Alright, I'm on the way now. Alright. Loud as this phone is, now the bitch don't go off. Get the fuck out of here. Hold on. Hello? Yeah, how you doing? It's Sean from Brown's Towing. Hold on. Is this Keith? Yo, that's crazy, man. That's fucked up, yo. That's sad though, yo. Cause typically in them cases, yo, you find out the family ain't try to do nothing. But now you got a situation where the family was trying and this nigga just was relentless. Relentless bitch. Sick motherfucker. Man, they gonna terrorize you when he catch his time. Right now they protecting him. If he don't off himself, watch the stories that be coming out about it. He gonna be somebody's girlfriend in that bitch. Watch, I guarantee you. I guarantee you, before it's all said and done, David is gonna be somebody's girlfriend in jail. That's why I thought he was gonna kill himself. I ain't think he was gonna sit around until they locked him up. Fuck no, cause that nigga ain't jail ready. I mean, nobody's jail ready for real, but you know, some niggas can do it. I don't even think he can do it. Sick ass nigga. Yo, sick as a bitch. Let's see if TMZ covered it. I got a nice little, but I told you 30 minutes. I'm gonna be like 45 minutes up to get there. TMZ. Here's some details. So TMZ covered it 6 hours ago. See how they characterize it.
Guys, there's no way around.
And why do they keep getting these? I don't like these niggas. Where the other niggas?
Welcome to the TMZ podcast, everybody. I'm Jason. I'm here with Derek. We are going to be discussing the. Well, Singer David's attorneys pressed the DA's office, and said that they want a preliminary hearing as soon as possible. They didn't get the hearing yesterday, but what they got were the prosecutors laying out what they say is very damning evidence that proves Dave.
Yo, that's crazy, yo, that they had all that evidence all this time, yo. Like, I'm amazed. I ain't gonna lie. That shit shocked the shit out of me. The fact that they held on to all that evidence and kept it quiet. Like, we didn't know none of that shit. You know, TMZ been prying away at the information for forever. Man, we ain't know none of that shit, man. They kept that shit quiet. For whatever reason, I don't know. They treat him like he was a white boy. The fuck? They don't typically do that shit to black people, man. They treated Joe like he was one of them.
David is the one who murdered Celeste Rivas Hernandez. It's so odd. I haven't seen anything like this, because next month there is going to be a preliminary hearing. You don't have to request it. It's automatic that there's a prelim. So the prosecution doesn't have to say, we're going to lay out what we're going to show in the preliminary hearing. You just do it. And they laid out their case in a document that they filed called the prosecution's preliminary hearing brief, which I've never seen. But for whatever reason, they wanted to lay out all the evidence they had they laid out throughout the entire timeline from when David.
Yeah, I ain't never seen that either. You know, typically a preliminary, they don't really go over the case. They probably proud about this motherfucker. This might be their shining moment. This might be their get back for OJ. Yeah, man, they bungled the OJ case. They like, we're gonna get his ass. They lay out the whole case at the preliminary. Typically, they don't lay out shit at no preliminary. I just talk about that shit with what's it called? With Big 30 and them. With the bar, well, they didn't even have no preliminary. They just had a bar here. Oh yeah, so my bad. I spoke out of context. Hold on.
From when David and Celeste first met, when she was 11 years old, right through him leaving his car on the street with her remains in that car. So let's go through it, top to bottom. They say that the crucial part as it relates to the murder is that they say in November of 2024 they broke up. Celeste and David broke up. They were still in contact with each other, but they were broken up, and it seems like she was mostly back home in Lake Elsinore. Then on April 22nd of 2025, they get into a fight, and the prosecutors say they have this all in text. A huge fight where she is jealous about the fact that David is seeing other women, and she threatens him and says she's basically...
Yo, but this, no, what this do tie back into? The Pooh Shiesty Gucci Mane situation. Yo, one of the worst things you can do is play with a motherfucker, man. Yo, sit there and manipulated that girl. Made that little ass girl think they was exclusive. So when she find out that that ain't the truth, or that ain't the case, she threatened to expose him. And look what the fuck happened. That shit's sad. I'm telling you, y'all. That shit like one of the worst things you can do, y'all, is mislead a person, man, in any situation. Friendships, relationships, business. Man, a lot of times, yo, shit get crazy about that, man. That's why when it came down to Pooh Shiesty, I'm like, yo, I can't really say he's wrong. I can say he did it wrong. But yo, when you find out you've been manipulated and used, man, people liable to get hurt in that situation. More times than not. More times than not, somebody's going to get hurt. That's how that should always go.
Threatening to go public and reveal the fact that they have been in a sexual relationship, which he has been having sex with a minor, which he says is going to ruin his career. Right. And so that is for the prosecution's view. That's the trigger for what comes next. Because the other part of it is that on the 25th, he had his first album coming out. So, fight on the 22nd, 23rd, he sends an Uber to go pick her up in Lake Elsinore. The Uber picks her up at 8:40 p.m., gets to David's house at about 10:10 p.m. She gets dropped off. This is the moment where prosecutors say, as they described it, he is lying in wait in his home because they believe that when she walked in the door, very shortly after that, he stabs her, cuts her, stabs her, and watches her, as they describe it, watches her bleed out, makes no effort to save her, does not call any emergency services, watches.
And they say he did all this shit on his own. Yo, had no co-defendants, no accomplices, no nothing. You did all that shit on his own, yo. That's a sick little nigga there, man. You talk about his music, he's sick. Something wrong with that little dude.
Or die. Can I just say, I want to stop you on that, because he says, they say he watched her bleed out. That's a very specific thing, but there was nobody in that home, and that's an interesting thing. It's the one sort of black hole in their story here, because to this point, they've not said there's any witness to that. Right. But
obviously, if he stabbed her, he was the only one there, he watched her bleed out. Like, I mean, I don't think it'd take a rocket scientist to put that together, guys. Come on now, tighten up. I mean, he could have went in the other room, but no matter how you put it, he didn't render aid, so he watched her bleed out.
10:30, interestingly, David starts texting, and they believe Celeste is already dead at 10:30. Well, they also know the Uber showed up at 10:10. Right. So and he stabs her, they say, and that she dies. At 10:30, he is texting Celeste's phone saying, "Hey, where are you? When are you getting here?" As if to, and they believe this is the start of his cover-up. Yeah. Right. 1 hour later, he gets in his car and drives north to Santa Barbara County. The remote Santa Barbara County. He is there most of the night. They suspect he's there disposing of some evidence, some of Celeste's belongings. He comes home early in the morning on the 24th, pops down and does an interview with a podcast to promote his album that's coming out the next day. And then things get weird because he starts ordering some things. Well, this is where it looks really incriminating.
That's right. This is when he starts purchasing items to, according to prosecutors, dismember the body and start to dispose of it. He purchases a shovel from Home Depot that he has delivered via Postmates. He, a few days after that, purchases 2 chainsaws on Amazon. He does so under an alias, another name, Victoria Mendez. They then say a couple days after that, he purchases a body bag, a laundry bag, and an inflatable blue pool. Now, this is what's fascinating about the blue pool is when the body was discovered and it was dismembered, there's a note in the autopsy report that there were blue plastic fragments embedded in some of the body parts. The forensics team by the prosecutors has now matched, they say they've matched those blue fragments to the pool that was put down to protect the floor where he was dismembering the body.
So a lot of incriminating evidence as to...
Man, I would say he might as well cop out, but they ain't even gonna give him no deal. Ain't no deals on the table for that shit. Just like ain't no deals on the table for the boys that killed Julio. They gonna make them go through the whole process, knowing they gonna find him guilty just so they can give him death penalty or something. And I think he faced the death penalty. They ready to kill you about that shit.
As to disposing of the body. So
Never did.
What's going to be interesting here is, the defense is saying whatever he didn't murder her.
Right.
And so that is what is going to be interesting. Are they going to say, yes, he dismembered the body? It's going to be real hard to say no. It's going to be real hard to say no, because why do you have a chainsaw? Why do you have your body bags? Why do you have a shovel? So that's going to be hard, but we don't know how they're going to show.
Man, they always try to do that. That's what I don't do, when I cover cases. Like when TMZ cover a case, and Law and Crime Network, they try to leave it open-ended, and I get it, it's a way to keep people coming back, but, man, that boy done, man. That evidence with the pool, and he ordered the pool, and it's the same material from the pool that was in her dead body. Man, case is over. Fuck. Ain't no how you gonna get around that? Ain't no getting around that, man. So what's the odds of somebody else ordering the same pool? They got too much circumstantial evidence. Too much. Y'all know I don't even like circumstantial evidence. Because, a lot of people get found guilty and don't be really guilty, but fuck him. Do some shit like that, Like, that was for one, you was having sex with an underage girl. You know what I mean?
To show reasonable doubt on killing her. Right. We don't know, but again, all of this that they've laid out seems like they have a mountain of evidence against David. So how in the world will his defense team mount a defense when this ends up in court? Joining us now to discuss this, someone who's been on both sides of the court, as a former federal prosecutor and now a criminal defense attorney, Katie Cherkasky. Welcome back to TMZ Live. Good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So, circumstantial evidence can be enough. Is it enough here?
Well, from what has been released, it sounds like these investigators did a very solid job of connecting all of the dots to this defendant, and it does not look good for him, needless to say. That started with the fact
they must have some federal funding behind this. The state ain't do this on their own. Fuck no. They had to have some federal help. That's probably why this investigation took so long. They had all hands on deck on this shit.
That the body was found in a car registered to him, so that certainly didn't help matters from the defense perspective. But at the end of the day, the prosecutors still have to prove that he was the one that committed these acts beyond a reasonable doubt. And like you said, it's circumstantial. There's not an eyewitness that says, as far as we know, that they saw this. However, the prosecutors have released very specific details that seem to indicate that they have put together a very detailed story, including very specific dates and incidents and Amazon orders that have brought it to this point where it looks like he might be backed up against the wall. But of course, there's always going to be a defense raised in any case.
Step right up, take your chances. Oh, how about you, buddy? Sure. Ooh. Slow down there, champ. It'll cost you.
Don't pay more to play more. He might be backed up against the wall. But of course, there's always going to be a defense raised in any case.
Right. I mean, it seems what they have, Katie, is when you read the entire timeline, the entire story as they've laid it out, they have very specific details up to the moment that Celeste arrives at his home on the evening of April 23rd. Then at 11:30 on April 23rd, they know that he leaves in his car. But in between there, really the only evidence that we know of that they have is what the ME has said, what the medical examiner said, report saying that she was stabbed and that there were 2 wounds in her abdomen that were different from what you would wounds that would be used in dismembering the body. Is that enough? Because they don't have the murder weapon and they haven't really placed that weapon in David's hand, at least from what they've laid out here.
Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can defend a criminal case, or really any case, and one is on the facts, whether they actually can prove up these charges. Is there some sort of alibi? Is there somebody else that was accessing the Amazon account? Right now, all we know is what the prosecution side of the story is. The defense...
They already said that he lied to family and friends. Which means they talked to family and friends and they said it was a stench in the house. That's what made him drive her to Santa Barbara. So they're gonna have family and friends that's gonna testify to that stench. That boy done. That boy's done. Sick bitch. The demonic ass music keep fucking singing. That's so crazy. That's so crazy.
The defense is going to eventually have to put on a case, and so perhaps they have factual rebuttals to some of the evidence. And then on the other side of things, even if there's really bad facts, really bad evidence, it looks like somebody is essentially guilty, there's still very significant procedural issues that can come up, and the defense can try to exploit some of those. So whether the investigation was done properly, whether his constitutional rights were respected throughout, whether there's any issues with the searches or the evidence that they obtained as a result of that. Those are all very ripe issues that the prosecution has to be very careful in any case to not step into, because then a case can be kicked or something can happen to reduce it, even though factually it's incredibly damning.
But we will see when David's side starts their defense. Katie, thank you so much.
That's his only hope. That's his only hope. They fucked up somewhere along the lines. He can eat that shit on a technicality. And that circumstantial evidence they got on his ass is glaring. Nigga, the fuck you order 2 chainsaws for, nigga? You know what I mean? Order 2 of them bitches. A shovel, a cadaver bag. That David shit crazy. Yo, wow. Yo was 18 years old and attracted to an 11-year-old. What the fuck, nigga? What the fuck, nigga? I guarantee y'all once you catch the time, it's gonna come from that nigga. Y'all, somebody sick ass nigga. Sick ass nigga. ready to end the live anyway. I was saying that before it's all said and done, for the next 6 years, he gonna be somebody's girlfriend. That bitch. Tag rule. That's the next news we hear about y'all after the case is over. It's gonna be like, yeah, you know the niggas turned your gay in there. There's gonna be somebody property in that bitch. They gonna fuck you over bad in that motherfucker, boy. That shit crazy. Okay, they gonna fuck you over bad in that. It ain't clear now? Should be clear now. Oh, that might just be in a bad eye. Yo, but I'm ready, I gotta make it to this call anyway, for real. So let me go ahead and end this one.